I am 68, and I have learned two things the hard way. Love is patient, and leverage is noisy. Last Sunday, my daughter-in-law walked into my kitchen with a pen, a folder, and a smile too sweet for a rainy day. She said, "Mom, it's just a medical consent form." I looked at my houseplants, then at that pen and thought, someone is about to underestimate me. I folded the dish towel over the sink and set the kettle on. I know the rhythm of this home like the lines on my hands, the floorboards that sigh, the back door that needs the hip bump to close. The garden outside waits for me each morning, tomatoes fattening like secrets. I've paid for this roof twice, once with money, once with grief. I will not pay a third time with my dignity. Tea? I asked her. My son, Mark, hovered by the refrigerator, already sorry without knowing why. Jenna's smile pressed into place. Green would be great. I fetched the box, watching steam rise. She put the folder between us like a placemat. The top sheet said durable power of attorney. That is not tea. I was married 42 years. My husband, God rest him, was a builder who used plumb lines and patience. He always told me, measure once with your eyes, twice with your gut. My gut measured that folder and said, do not sign. Let me read this, I said, and Jenna's thumb tapped her phone twice, 3 times. She was counting seconds. I noticed. Set up. You should know we are a family of nice. We bring casseroles and say let me help when we mean let me steer. It started 2 weeks earlier when I fainted in the garden heat. Stress, nothing major. Mark and Jenna swept in like a weather alert. She took my keys for safekeeping, tucked them into her tote, and I was just grateful not to crack my head on the stepping stones. VNBN. Stay with us for a few days, Mark said. Their guest room smelled like new laundry and a different life. I slept 2 nights and came home to find my mailbox empty, though I knew a bank statement should have arrived. The spare key under the ceramic frog was gone. The frog stared at me like it had been robbed too. Jenna started scheduling me like a campaign. Doctor, nutritionist, a realtor can give us options, she said, as if options were vitamins. A business card appeared on my counter, gilt letters, brisk handshake, a photo of a man with a winning chin. My son apologized with his eyes. He rubbed the back of his neck. Just information, Mom. He's a good man who hates conflict so much he'll drown in it quietly rather than splash. Sunday dinners became mandatory. We want family time, Jenna said, smiling that tight smile. But I could feel the clock. Me at their table, my mail at their house, my keys in her tote, my life in the folder that would simplify things. Love is patient. Leverage is noisy. I watered the basil and tucked the realtor card into a drawer. Then I did what I always do when the air gets heavy. I baked. Hands in flour, breath steady, recipe like prayer. To cups, sift, fold, wait. By Thursday, Jenna arrived with a medical form. I made tea and took my time reading. The lines were clean and hungry, durable, broad. It said Jenna would decide where I lived. It said she could sell things in my best interest. Honey, my best interest is not your interest. Let me sleep on it, I said. Her smile lost a tooth. We should do it while Mark's here, she said, as if his presence made it gentler. I nodded and tucked the paper under the sugar bowl. When they left, I opened the junk drawer where I keep everything that matters, old recipes, gift cards, a key. No one remembers. I took out a small envelope my husband once labeled in his careful block letters. If push comes. I had never opened it. Some things you save for weather. But first, I did a little inventory. Mail gone, spare key missing, new realtor card, medical form. I checked the back door. The lock felt smooth to smooth. Someone had oiled it. It wasn't courtesy. It was practice. I stood in my kitchen, palms flat on the counter, and thought about my tomatoes, about my granddaughter's tiny hands clapping at ladybugs, about my husband who never pushed, he placed. I decided to place something of my own. Inciting incident. The next morning, Jenna arrived with muffins and impatience. We can notarize at the pharmacy, she said. It's convenient like a slipknot. After lunch, I said. She set her tote on the counter. A corner of my mail peeped out like a hostage, my bank's logo peering over coupons. She turned to pet the cat. I slid the envelope deeper into the bag with 2 fingers, found my keys, cool as coins, and palmed them. Oh, did you see that hummingbird? I asked, tilting my head toward the window. We watched air. No bird. Just enough time to put my keys back in my own drawer. I have lived long enough to know quiet moves. She left the tote open. The realtor card had friends, a paper clipped to it, evaluation as a sell quick, handwriting said 90 days. I took a top-down look at the papers, not touching them again. That's when I saw a sticky note with my name on it, payoff first then listing, my name, written like a project milestone. People think older women don't read footnotes. I read the footnotes, the watermarks, the tone of someone's voice before they ask for a pen. I also read the scraped knuckle on my garden gate where someone had hurried. There are stories everywhere. At dinner that night, Sunday again, she seated me at the head of their table like a guest of honor at my own arraignment. We picked a nice assisted living with a garden, she said, phone in hand, showing me glossy photos of sunlight on staged roses. You can bring some cuttings. Mark swallowed his words like pills. My granddaughter babbled sweet nonsense that made sense to me, a handful of syllables that said stay. I excused myself and stepped onto their porch. I called my neighbor, Alma, the kind with eyes you can borrow. Watch my house tonight? I asked. I will, she said. And I'll bring my notebook. Back home. I took out the envelope. If push comes, inside, a photocopy of our old deed, notes in my husband's hand, and a name, Ruth Ellery, attorney. A second, smaller envelope crinkled, a safe deposit key taped to a card. My husband's handwriting again. Keep this until the garden needs it. The garden needed it. Morning? I called Ruth. The receptionist said, she likes mornings. I said, so do I. While people are still polite. On my way out, I checked the ceramic frog. Still empty. I put a different spare under the third paving stone by the hydrangea, the tricky one. Then I brewed a fake batch of lemon ginger for Jenna, slices floating like coins because she likes perks and I like props. When she arrived, I smiled big. I'm going to think about the form, I said, but I'll come to dinner Sunday. She relaxed the way people do when they think the fish has swallowed the hook. On my counter, the realtor card sat neat. I moved it an inch with my index finger, like a chess piece. Jenna bent to pick it up, lips pursed. We just want what's best. Me too, I said, and the kettle whistled like a referee. She left. I locked the door. I locked it again. Then I went to see Ruth. Her office smelled like paper and lemon oil. She was the kind of woman who lets silence sit down first. I told her the story, the fainting, the keys, the tote, the sticky note with my name on it like a task. Ruth listened the way a lens takes light. Your husband came here once, she said, surprising me. Years ago, asked hypotheticals. He believed in building. I nodded until my throat ached. Do you have your deed? She asked. A copy, I said, and a safe deposit key. I showed her the envelopes. She spread the papers like a patient map. She taught me new vocabulary. Lady bird deed, transfer on death, life estate, conditional bequest. Words that sound like stubborn birds and back doors, but really mean, this house waits for me to be done with it. I told her I wanted my granddaughter to inherit my garden bench someday, not a fight. I told her I wanted my son safe from his wife's ambition and my own loneliness. I told her I wanted Sunday dinners because I loved them, not because missing one was a clause. Ruth wrote and nodded. We can set terms, she said. No one moves you without a physician you choose. Anyone who pressures you forfeits. Keep your life estate. Record the deed now. Place the rest in a trust that feeds the flowers you care about. Make it quiet, I said. Not a war. A fence. Quiet fences are my favorite, Ruth said. And we got to work. That afternoon, I opened the safe deposit box. Inside, a letter from my husband dated 8 years ago. He wrote, if anyone ever confuses concern with control, give them a boundary. I cried the soft, tired cry of a woman who has been apologized to without change. I changed the locks that evening. Alma held the flashlight and the moral support. I called the bank and split my accounts like loaves and fishes. I set phone alerts and turned off paper statements like candles. I tucked a notarized letter into my recipe book. Between the cornbread and the pound cake places I go often. I slept with the window open and the new lock warm in my pocket. Rising stakes. Thursday. Mark stopped by without Jenna. He kicked a pebble on my porch. She means well, he said. I know, I said. So do lightning and mold. He smiled. He loves me in a way that makes him careful. What do you want me to do? He asked. Tell me what you want, I replied. He stared at his shoes like they held answers. I want peace, he said. Peace and quiet aren't the same, I said. One you build, the other you impose. Inside, I showed him a photograph of me 30 years younger, chestnut hair, my husband's arm over my shoulder. We built this, I said. We also built you, He nodded. He rubbed his neck. Mom, I don't want to lose you, he said, and that was the honest thing inside the tangle. You won't, I said. You might lose a shortcut. He blinked. He looked at my doorknob, new brass, tidy screws. He looked at the ceramic frog, emptier now but somehow more honest. Sunday dinner? He asked. I'll be there, I said, and I'll bring dessert. He laughed. Your desserts are threats, he said. Promises, I corrected. That night, I heard someone test the back gate. It clicked like a question. The cat's ears pricked. I let the porch light flood the hydrangea and watched a shadow retreat. I wrote down the time in a little notebook I keep by the phone. Boundaries begin with notes. Friday, a voicemail from a number I didn't know, confirming the home evaluation Monday at 10. I smiled like a woman who has something better than a lock, a filing number at the county recorder's office. Jenna texted, "You'll love the community garden at Maple Grove. They do field trips." I texted back, "I do my own field trips, porch to tomatoes." She sent a single heart. I imagined it a different color. I cook stew, the kind that perfumes the decision you're making. I set the table for one, then for two. Alma joined me with her notebook, where she had copied license plates and times like a cheerful detective. It's not paranoia if they're actually planning a tour, she said, and we laughed until the cat scolded us. I checked my paperwork 3 times. The attorney had been thorough. Ladybird deed recorded. Trust created. Conditional bequests. My son receives a generous portion if and only if he does not participate in attempts to move me without my consent or use any form or power to override my physician's recommendations. A small, quiet clause sat in the will like a comma, easy to miss if you don't read footnotes. Any party who seeks or secures financial authority over me without my clear, contemporaneous consent forfeits their share. That comma could change history. Jenna was not mentioned by name. I prefer policies to targets. My granddaughter gets the garden bench, the bead tin with mismatched buttons, and the house after my life estate, if the boundaries hold. Saturday, I swapped the obvious hiding places for better ones. Keys went into a little velvet pouch in my flower bin. Letter copies into the dryer lint trap. Who would look there? Then I took a nap. Power naps are boundary naps. When I woke, the air tasted like rain. I stood by the window, watching drops turn the driveway dark. My reflection looked like my mother's, soft, stubborn. I adjusted my pearls. At dusk, Mark texted, "Running late tomorrow but will be there by 5. Bring your appetite," I replied. "I'm bringing the good fork." He sent a question mark. I didn't answer. "Let some questions cook." He sent a question mark. I didn't answer. "Let some questions cook." 15. OOMGO 6 midpoint twist flashback. 30 years ago, my chestnut hair framed a younger face, and my husband and I signed our first deed with hands that shook a little. He whispered, "Houses are just wood until someone loves you in them." I remember how we measured rooms with steps, how we argued over outlet placement like it mattered, and it did, because every small decision is a vote for the person you'll be. He put our marriage certificate in a folder labeled "Things That Matter." He put the deed in one marked "Things We Built." He would be proud, I think, of the folder I carry now. Boundaries, present again. I stirred tea and set out plates. I called Ruth to confirm. "Ready?" she asked. "Paper is quiet," I said, "until it isn't." "Remember," she said, "you don't need my presence tonight, but you have my phone." "I have something better," I said, and looked at the envelope with my husband's letter and a notarized clause attached like a steadying hand. I slipped an extra copy into my purse, one into Alma's, and one under the cat's food tin. Redundancy is the mother of peace. Sunday arrived like a ceremony. I put on my emerald blouse, pearls neat like punctuation. I carried a casserole, hot and honest, and a manila envelope, quiet and decisive. The sky had that early evening gold that makes even the nosy shrubs look forgiving. I parked in front of my son's house and sat for a moment in the idling car, listening to the engine breathe. I said a small prayer, for love to stay love and not turn into strategy. Inside, Jenna kissed the air beside my cheek. "You look great," she said, eyes going to the envelope. "What's that?" "Recipes," I said. "And a letter." She laughed, not unkindly. "You're so old school." "Paper is proof," I said. "And casseroles are community." We ate. My granddaughter threw peas like confetti. Mark relaxed with each bite, the way men do when they are fed and not challenged. Then Jenna cleared plates with efficiency I recognized from project managers and women who like to win. "Before dessert," she said, curating a smile, "we should do the quick notarization." I looked up a pharmacy open late. Before dessert, I agreed, laying my envelope on the table. We should read something. Mark froze, fork halfway to comfort. Jenna's fingers tapped her phone. 1 to 3. I opened the envelope and slid out the letter on top. My husband's handwriting. Dear future tough day. I read aloud. I read about love and the house that love built. I read the part where he wrote, we protect what we built by letting it breathe with us, not under someone else. Jenna's smile cooled. Mark's eyes warmed. Then I read Ruth's letter, precise and unafraid. The deed recorded, my life estate intact, the beneficiary designation clear, the trust terms printed like guardrails. I read the conditional bequest clause the way a mother reads a bedtime story with rhythm and an ending that makes you safe. Jenna sat back, phone screen dimming. So you don't trust me, she said. I don't trust pressure, I said. I don't sign forms between salad and dessert. Mark squeezed his napkin into a knot. I didn't want to, I know, I said. Sometimes wanting peace makes us hand out pens we shouldn't. Jenna looked at Mark, then at me. You can't stop us from caring, she said. I can stop you from managing me, I replied. And I can invite you to dinner without inviting you into my mailbox. Silence took a chair. Then my granddaughter squealed at a crumb, and everything human came back into the room. I set dessert on the table, pound cake. I sliced it clean. If anyone attempts to move me without my consent or to secure financial control, they forfeit. That's the clause. I said it kind, like a weather report. Jenna's jaw flexed. Mark's shoulders dropped, relieved and ashamed at once. I want Sunday dinners like this, I said, with laughter and crumbs and stories. Not negotiations. Mark nodded. Jenna's eyes went shiny but not soft. I'm not the enemy, she said. I know, I answered. But you tried to be the project manager of my life, and I already have one me. Fallout or plan? Monday, I met Ruth again to finalize the small things that aren't small. Copies placed with people who can be trusted, like Alma. Alerts set. A file in my freezer, true trick, but I wrapped it in a zipper bag. Ice in case of emergency, see attorney. We talked about medical proxies. I chose my physician, a woman who calls me by my name and not my chart, and a second, Alma, who knows the difference between fussing and help. We added one more note. If I miss 2 consecutive Sunday dinners by choice, that is my right and not evidence of incapacity. I like my quiet, and I will not be taken hostage by pot roast. After Ruth's office, I stopped by the hardware store and bought a new ceramic frog, this one without a hole. I set it by the hostess like a decoy. The real spare went into a small lockbox in the shed, code known to me and if necessary, to my neighbor. I texted Jenna, thank you for dinner. I'll host next week, she responded. Of course. A minute later, about the form I typed. No, I added a period. Periods are little fences. Mark called later. I'm sorry, he said. I know, I said. Make sure your wife knows you love her for who she is, not for what she can organize. And make sure she knows I love you both, and my boundaries are love scaffolding. He breathed out. We'll be there Sunday, he said. Do you want me to bring anything? Bring your hands, I said. We'll stake the tomatoes. At dusk, I stood on my porch and let the air tell me what season it was. Late summer, onions curing in the kitchen, a cat unfurling on the railing, the neighborhood children chalking galaxies on the sidewalk. I thought of my husband's letter. I thought of the quiet power of records and of commas. I thought of how women like me are always written as the soft landing or the hard stop. We are also the author of our own clauses. Tuesday, a realtor left a voicemail asking to confirm an appointment I never made. I called back and said, we won't be selling. Remove me from your list. He tried to convince me. I repeated, remove me. I filed the call log. Documentation is dignity's diary. Wednesday, Jenna sent a long text about her own grandmother's decline, about how scary it was, about wanting to be prepared. I read every word and answered with 3 sentences. I hear you. I am not her. We'll move at my pace. She didn't reply. Not that day. Space is a kind of punctuation too. Thursday, I baked a second pound cake. This one had lemon glaze like handwriting. I wrapped it in parchment and ribbon. Casseroles are community. Pound cake is peace offering and backbone both. Alma and I sat on the porch and staked the tomatoes. Your fence is pretty, she said. Thank you, I said. I painted it with clauses. The cat chased a moth. We let it. Final twist or payoff. Sunday arrived with family and the smell of garlic. I set the table, placed a little envelope by each plate. What's this? Mark asked. Curious as a boy. Keys, I said. To the shed, not to the house. Boundaries, remember? Jenna turned the small brass key over, reading the engraved number. Why? Because we're going to stake tomatoes together before dinner, I said. If you want to help, help where I need it, not where you think I should. She took a breath, the kind of breath you take before either apologizing or doubling down. I overstepped, she said finally, words like pebbles. I was scared. I know, I said. Scared makes people reach. Boundaries make them reach for the right thing. We went out to the garden, the four of us. The cat supervised. We tied soft fabric to stakes so the stems could grow without bruising. My granddaughter patted soil like cake, murmuring to worms with holy reverence. Jenna asked, "Can I see the claws again?" "Anytime," I said. "It's on file, and it lives right here." I tapped my temple. "And here." I tapped the lock. "And here." I tapped my ring. Inside, we ate, and I told stories about the house, the paint color we fought over, the Sunday the roof leaked during a storm and we caught rain in mixing bowls, laughing. Mark asked for seconds. I gave him thirds. After cake, I placed one last envelope on the table. "This is for you, Mark," I said. "It's a copy of the trust terms you should read, not because I doubt you, but because I love you with clarity." He nodded, throat full. "And this," I told Jenna, offering a thin booklet, "is a list of ways you can help me that are actually helpful." She cracked a smile. "Like what?" "Driving me to the nursery, setting up my new phone, notarizing my signature only when I ask for it." She laughed, a real one. "I can do that," she said. "I know," I replied. We cleared plates together. The evening softened. Lights in the yard came on like permission. Mark put his arm around his wife. My granddaughter fell asleep on my shoulder, warm and heavy, like a promise. Jenna looked at me and said, "I'm sorry for the project plan." I nodded. "Next time, bring a pie chart," I teased. "We'll grade it for sweetness." She rolled her eyes and washed the forks. I drove home under a sky that looked like old denim. The porch light welcomed me like a faithful dog. I set my purse down, fed the cat, and stood a long time in the doorway, listening to my house be a house. Then I checked my locks, not because I was afraid, but because I was faithful to the clause that is me. I put the keys in the flower bin, slid the envelope back into the recipe book between the pages that know my hands best, and made tea. I stepped onto the porch with my mug and looked at my tomatoes. "We're safe," I told them, and the night agreed. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a child laughed in sleep. A car door closed. A moth found the light. My phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. "Thank you for trusting me with the list." I wrote back, "Thank you for reading the footnotes." Another text from Mark. "Love you, Mom." I wrote, "Love you more than clauses." I went inside, set my pearls on the tray, and touched the little enamel brooch my husband once fixed with glue and patience. "We're fine," I told his memory. "Your fence holds." And I slept. The house breathed. The garden dreamed of rain. Button or moral? Love is welcome. Leverage is not. If anyone ever brings you a pen and a smile, bring your clauses and your cake. One protects the house. The other brings them back to the table. I stepped onto the porch with my mug and looked at my tomatoes. "We're safe," I told them, and the night agreed. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a child laughed in sleep. A car door closed. A moth found the light. My phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. "Thank you for trusting me with the list." I wrote back, "Thank you for reading the footnotes." Another text from Mark. "Love you, Mom." I wrote, "Love you more than clauses." I went inside, set my pearls on the tray, and touched the little enamel brooch my husband once fixed with glue and patience. "We're fine," I told his memory. "Your fence holds." And I slept. The house breathed. The garden dreamed of rain. Button or moral? Love is welcome. Leverage is not. If anyone ever brings you a pen and a smile, bring your clauses and your cake. One protects the house. The other brings them back to the table.